Let's be real, folks. Interviews are very intimidating. And why shouldn't they be? Of course, it feels like you're going into a battlefield. You're dressed in that armor, you're thinking of defeating the enemy, you're strategizing the next move, and you're also thinking about getting into that castle, the job. And before you get into it, you're thinking like,
मैं बर्बाद होना चाहता हूँ.
And once you're in it, you're like, well, fear no more. In this episode, I'm going to break down this torture for you, which we call interview. And trust me, if you stay with me till the end of this video, in fact, the end of this series, you're going to understand a lot about interviews not being that intimidating, rather a big opportunity for you to grow. Before we begin, I have a little disclaimer. Hi, Pitu. She's a little sick and she wants a lot of attention these days. I cannot lock her up and just bear with her. So let's begin. Back in the day, this used to be really simpler. People used to go, meet somebody, and get the job right there and then. Why? Because there was lesser population and lesser job market saturation. But today, we have a huge talent pool graduating from universities every year and not even getting employed, and also competing with the graduates coming next year and the next year and the year after that.
यही तो कयामत है.
So where does it all begin? It begins in an interview. Now, this little word has become such a buzzkill and such a scary term for so many people that whenever you hear it, it causes anxiety, takes people back into traumas, and even makes them panic. It's not more of a Hunger Game or for Gen Z Squid Games, but a pretty sacred game where
कभी-कभी लगता है कि आप उन्हीं भगवान हैं.
Number 1, the origin. I know what you're thinking. Cut the crap and jump to how to ace an interview. But we need to take this red pill and understand what the word interview means and what's the history behind this. So the word interview is a combination of two Latin words. Inter means between and videre means viewing or watching, which means that two people or two entities are looking at each other, having an eye-to-eye. No, face-to-face interaction. It could be on-site, in person, or virtually. But basically, that's what two entities are doing. The one person could be the interviewee, the one who is being interviewed, and the other could be one person or a number of people sitting as a panel. Fun fact, the first ever formal interview in this world was conducted by Thomas Edison. Yep, the light bulb guy. And believe it or not, it was not about tell me about yourself, or are you a team player or not? Instead, it was about, do you know how salt is made? And do you know how teapots are made?
कुछ भी.
Number 2, a two-way street. Interview is a two-way process. It's not just about you being judged by the company, but it's also about you judging the company. Yeah, you have the right to select and reject a company too. When I create a video about that, I'll share a card over here so that you can reach out and see how you can judge a company. But for now, let's understand that an interview is a vibe match for the employer and the employee. More like a corporate Tinder. Swipe right. If you want to get into more nitty-gritty of it all, please go and read The Talent Masters by Bill Connaty and Charan. They explore how interviews evolved from being a mere Q&A to the strategic tool they are today for finding top talent. Number 3, the opportunity cost. An interview not only tells a company how much risk they're taking by betting over you, but they're also telling you how much risk or opportunity cost you're going to bear if you work with this particular company. For instance, one company could only have perks, benefits, and insurances all in the monetary form. But on the other hand, there's no learning. But in another interview, you realize that another company is offering certifications, learning, growth trajectory, and a good evaluation process. Now, which one would you choose? Tough call. Well, each to their own. This we will discuss in another video, and once I've made this, you'll be able to watch the card here. But for now, we need to understand that it's not the opportunity, but the opportunity cost as well that makes people decide in an interview whether they want to work with that person or that company. For a reference, you should read the book Quiet by Susan Cain, where she discusses how intimidating the interviews can be, especially for the introvert. But that book also offers strategies to navigate through that challenge. So remember that interviews are not only about the abilities, but also about the choices you make. Number 4, reading the room. Now, not every job interview is going to be similar. Not every job interview would want you to have particular skill set, and not every job interviewer is going to be very lenient or very harsh or very strict or very rough or very curious or very scary. So you need to understand where you should be humorous or more skillful or more tactful or more technical or a small talk parrot or simply a friendly person who's easy to work with and can gel in with any kind of team. My trainees often ask me, what kind of a job interview are we going to face? Is it a panel? And I always ask them, why do you care? It should be none of your concerns. You need to be able to read the room and then respond accordingly. If there's a room where you see happy faces, you go and give a smile. If you see serious faces, you just be polite and firm and assertive. If you see some really angry, frustrated HR person who just want to bang their head against the wall because the previous interviewer has driven them crazy, you need to be very careful. Nonetheless, every interview comes with a different sort of an opportunity. It's for you to read what kind of a demeanor, skill set, attitude you need to portray to get into that job. Interviews are highly unpredictable. There's a book called Never Split the Difference by Voss, who was a former FBI negotiator, and he tells you how to not only read the room, but also how to navigate your negotiation and narration accordingly. Number 5. Building an impression. A very significant part of an interview is building an impression. Not only companies try to build an impression on you, they also want to see what kind of impression are you building for them. You might have often seen how the companies put their best faces as an HR or the recruiters or the managers. Not only that, but they also want you to see the best of their office setup and their environment. And if you have a question about their culture, they'll tell you long stories about how nice meals they have and how wonderful trips they go to. But that shouldn't be something that impresses, should it? Same goes for you. Not only your dress or how you introduce yourself should be impressive, but how you carry yourself, how you explain your past work, your experience, your projects, and even your career gap. All of this builds up to create a great impression, or for that matter, a bad one. Hundreds of my trainees have tried to dress to impress or to build an impression through a good introduction. But the problem is they cram it so badly that when they're sitting in front of the interviewer, they start recalling it. My name is Namra Nasyr, and I am a trainer and a consultant, and I have worked for Katha, don't do this, please. For a lot of us, just building a good impression could be a spooky experience. Because somebody once said, first impression, each. Last impression. But that is not true. There's a huge chunk of people out there who have a boardroom malfunction or mess up their introduction, but they still manage to get that job. Why is that so? Because the HR is also looking for an employee. They're looking for a person to add on to their team, and they do not rely only on your first impression, but they keep on giving you chances through questions. It may not be a challenge for the people with a high vibe personality or mostly extroverts, but it could be a challenge for the introverts. So the extroverts know how to greet and be chirpy and do small talk and be happy and be smiling and be friendly and make friends with the HR and know how to meet the interest and also build new interest while sitting right there and make best friends when they're walking out of the interview room. But it can be very draining for the introverts. So what do we do? No matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, a chirpy bird or a silent warrior, that sounds wrong. Everyone can have their place in the company. You just need to play on your strengths. Number 6, the questions. Now we all think that the questions asked by the HR will be the ones where they would want to know my technical expertise. They would want to know how I created a project, how I completed a task, or how good of an employee I have been in my former companies. However, the questions are mostly structured in a way that help the interviewers understand whether you're a problem solver, whether you're a team player, whether you're easy to work with, whether you're adaptable and can get along well while seeing changes in the environment and the work scenarios, and the most important, quick learner, self-learner, and taking the work off the CEO's plate. So while we're trying to anticipate questions and prepare answers in a way that would help us get through the interview, we need to understand the purpose of those questions. You should take the reference of the book, The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli.
तुम बस लेवल बढ़ा रहे हो बच्चों का.
Stop whining. You don't need to read the entire book. You can also go through its summary, you can hear its audio, and you can also ask GPT to give you a summary of that book. But it's one of the best books to tell you how the questions of the interview are strategized, structured, and what do they actually mean without you even realizing how you are answering the questions and helping them judge you. Number 7, the trick questions. Now, just when you start thinking that the interview is almost over and you did pretty well, they throw a dusra. I don't know what it is, but since the Clenish talk made it popular and it sounded cool, I said it. Anyway, this curveball or a twister or a tricky question is the one which the HR throws just to understand how much pressure you can take, how well you respond to that trick question, and whether or not you panic. According to an independent research, almost 70% of people get thrown off just by a trick question and hence lose chances of getting hired. But you should know that you're not supposed to fall into this trap because it's not a trap. They're just trying to judge how well you respond in a tricky situation. Like I said, interviews are unpredictable. So while you're practicing for the interviews, think about what unpredictable could happen. Think about the worst case scenario.
बहुत मुश्किल हो रही है यहाँ पे.
And try and expose yourself to that situation and then rehearse how your expressions would work, how your body language is going to work, whether or not you fidget consciously or unconsciously, whether you lose your calm, get triggered, or want to blow the entire room off. Especially know your triggers. Number 8, your turn. Well, this is one of the most interesting parts because here the HR wants you to ask questions and judge them. But actually, they're still judging you through the quality of your questions. Because most of the people make a fool out of themselves asking, Saturday on है? तनख्वाह कितनी देंगे? रोटी देते हैं? आपका कल्चर कैसा है? आपकी कंपनी करती क्या है? वो आप वर्क फ्रॉम होम देते हैं? Don't do this, please. Instead of asking these questions, what you should ask is regarding the technologies they're working on, the projects they have, the clients they have, the countries they're working in, the time zones they're working in. And if you're that curious about the environment, think about the why, what affects you, and how it's going to benefit you. For instance, you should ask about your growth, the growth trajectory, the evaluation on the basis of which your increment will be implemented, or ask about anything which is not present on their LinkedIn, website, podcast, news, articles, blogs, and Glassdoor. So whenever the HR asks if you have questions for them, avail that opportunity because that is going to gain you scores. Be smart. And number 9, the closing. Now this is the funniest because after witnessing more than 500 interviews, I've seen how trainees walk out. Thank you. दोबारा कब बुलाएंगे? email कब करेंगे? मुझे कैसे पता लगेगा मेरी सिलेक्शन हो गई है?
यकीन नहीं आ रहा कि मेरी सिलेक्शन हो गई है या नहीं हुई है।
हंसने की बात नहीं है।
Calm down. The best way of ending an interview is not by just standing up and walking out, but by A, asking for feedback regarding your interaction. B, be patient. You have given a good interview. Trust yourself, calm down, let the HR do their work. Don't make it easy for them to reject you. And C, be grateful for the opportunity, pay your gratitude, pay your greetings, smile, and then walk out. You can also go through the book or its summary of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a timeless classic for mastering the art of selling yourself. And it will help you in all sorts of social interactions, including interviews. That's all for today, where we discuss the elements of an interview. And I hope that you would have understood that it's not all about you being judged, but you are also judging the company. But you're still being judged. But you're also judging the company. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. If you did not like it, please let me know in the comment section what could be improved and how I can help you better. If understanding English for you is difficult, I'm also sharing my same videos in Hindi or Urdu so that you can understand better. Stay blessed and keep shining. And remember that you are all that matters. Bye-bye.